as dynamic as what people would refer to as art, right? Which is where creativity lies. So I would always refer to anything creative as things that are put in the category of art, music, what else again? Please give me examples. Think fashion, different things that are not serious, right? That's how I felt, you know. But I've come to realize that, it's beyond that. Initially, I was moving to the point of an extreme where I was trying to prove that art is science, that creativity is science. But right now, where I am in a place where I believe that everyone is a creator, everyone is a creative. And I say this because creativity is not in the form of the art, or it's not the art form. It's not even the skill, right? Creativity is the force, and this is how I choose to put it, is the force that accompanies whatever you put out there. And if we dial back to the first introduction that we have of God, you see in Genesis, it says, in the beginning, he created the heavens and the earth. And we're introduced to God as a creator. And then we see him creating different things in different ways. I mean, the primary way was in speaking, but he also formed man from the dust, right? We see just different expressions of creativity playing out. Things were made out of things that did not exist before, and other things were made out of things that already existed. There was a lot of creativity going on. Now, I've come to the point where I see creativity, like I said earlier on, as the force behind whatever form of expression is put out there. And I would touch on that before I leave here. But still looking at the way God created, he was able to express himself. And I don't think it's even recorded, but I don't know what skill he had to use, or what talent or gifts he had to use to create what he created. Because when we think of creative, we think of people who create or produce something. And so we categorize them, or we identify them as creatives based on what they produce, which takes us back to the earlier examples of music, art. So you must produce something. You must design something to be called a creative, right? And I feel like that is very limiting. So it begs the question, what skill set did God have, that we're able to refer to him as a creator? Did he go to a school of engineering humans? Did he study in the school of earth formation? Or what was that thing you call when you are terraforming, right? Did he learn all of that did he get a degree or a background? Like, what made him a creator? Simple. He created. And the reason why I say the creativity is the force behind the expression or the art form is because creativity is spiritual. And now we're going to talk about what that means. Creativity is spiritual. Behind every form or every art or every piece, every masterpiece, there is a voice. There is something being said. And it makes sense why you look at history and see how things like art, music, actually influenced culture. It's because there was a spirit behind them. And so I'm redefining creativity one last time here this night and for myself as that force behind whatever is being put, not the outcome, not the output, right? The creativity is the force. Whoever has the opportunity to channel whatever it is that they are channeling, whether it's emotions. That's at the end of the day, that's the idea behind creativity, is to evoke emotions, is to communicate, pass across a message. So whatever message is being communicated to whomever is going to receive it, that whole process, there's creativity inside, right? And I'll try and break it down into everyday terms because this is what helps me find rest and stop feeling overwhelmed. When you are making a meal, when you're cooking, even if it's not for demonstration, if it's just for your consumption, you are creating. You are not creating a food or a meal or something. You are creating an experience that you get to partake in. Funny story. I remember when I was, being stubborn, and I would go to the kitchen, make something, and then maybe eat from the pot or eat from my plate. And one day I said to myself, Jeffrey, snap out of it. Get a tray, set the food, sit down, and eat. And I don't know why I said that, but I just felt like, why am I deceiving myself? Because I go out to fancy places and I expected to be treated a certain way, but I don't treat myself like that. And so I realized that even us here in Nigeria, our culture, we don't necessarily have a culture of creating experiences for ourselves. But yet we expect other people to create experiences for us. So let's now talk about how my own frustrations in other aspects of, still have time, other aspects of things that I would refer to as an expression of creativity. Apart from music, apart from art, even architecture is an expression of creativity. The moment you bring something that didn't exist into existence, into material form that can be viewed, that can be interacted with, that can evoke an emotion. I'll give you another example. I've been to some houses that were built, and when you enter the toilet, I'm like, who built this thing? There's an emotion being evoked there. It's anger, it's annoyance, it's dissatisfaction. And then you enter some other spaces and you're like, wow. Someone puts in a lot of thought into this, right? You see where I'm going? The art form, whatever is produced, actually evokes an emotion and it communicates something. So the last thing that I want to say is that whether it's in, whether it's in baking or cooking or construction, you are communicating something. But ultimately, what I've learned today is that whatever you create, it doesn't just communicate something, it actually defines you. Jesus Christ was speaking to the Pharisees and all the people around him when they say he didn't wash his hand or he was eating. He didn't do ceremonial cleansing, but he was eating. And he said, it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out. In that sense, he could be talking about so many other things, but I would also want to rephrase it and say it's not what goes into a man that defines him, it's also what comes out of him that defines, not defiles, defines. And so in this context of creativity, whatever you put out there determines who you are. It could be in the songs you're writing, it could be in the designs you're creating, it could be in the movies you're producing. Whatever it is you're doing, it's not just about communicating or putting something out there, it's about defining, it defines you. Because the moment you are able to put out something that speaks, because it does speak, the moment you're able to put out something that communicates, that evokes emotions, you have established or you have sort of created a channel that points people back to you. So the art or the expression of the art is nothing without the artist. And that's why you see when people go for art exhibitions, even though in this day and age, we don't know what is art anymore. You see somebody explaining to you why a banana, plastered on a wall is art. They have to be there to explain it, right? I'm not trying to throw shades or anything, but let's not separate the artist from the art. What you create, what you put out defines you. And I'll leave you guys with this. The greatest form of creativity is the words that we speak. Now, the actions that we do are also, imagine if it's someone's birthday and you come and put together, several things, gather people, you've created an experience, right? It requires a lot of effort. You have to gather people. But when it comes to speaking, it's something that we do normally, every day. And then when God was creating, what did he do? He spoke. So everyone who is able to think of something, imagine it, and communicate it is creating. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a physical medium. You can create moments by choosing to be present, right? You can create things that shape culture by choosing to do something about it. But whatever it is, as long as you are able to communicate or translate what ideas or imaginations you have into something that people can experience, something that can evoke emotions, you are a creator. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am a creator. Thank you so much.
Give it up, give it up, give it up. Thank you so much, PJ. Thank you so much. I'm creating this speech right now, so I'm a creator. Thank you very much. The next on our list to tell us what it means to be a creator, let's give it up for Dikbo Ayo Adiusi.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dipo. You will forgive me. I'm going to sit down because today was leg day. I can't hack it. And I now, when I wore these heels, I don't understand what I was thinking. So just forgive me. But everybody can see and hear me. All right. So I run a business called Light in the Marketplace. An offshoot of that business, well, not really an offshoot. We started another business called King and Consort. And Light and Marketplace is the image consulting and all that stuff, fashion styling, creative directing. King and Consort is purely fashion design. And I like the topic, I think especially because it's where I am right now in my life. And so, just a little bit of context. Light and Marketplace was established in 2020. This year makes it a decade that I've been working professionally, but we started the business in 2020, and it started out of necessity because the film and the fashion industry were both shut down during COVID. Film industry was shut down because nobody was gathering to make films, and nobody was gathering to watch films. Fashion industry, nobody was gathering to buy or purchase clothes. Nobody was gathering to make clothes. Everybody was at home in there. That's where the rise of the boo-boo came out again, or was reinvented, because everybody was at home in loungewear. And so I'm at home, absolutely jobless and absolutely broke, and asking God, this is not how people get married, Lord. This is not how people have children. So what are we going to do? And then he led me down a path to start studying about the story of Joseph. So I didn't know what I was looking for, but he just said, study about Joseph. So I start from the beginning of, where the Bible introduces Joseph, and we keep going till we get to Genesis 41:14. And then it says, and Joseph shaved his beard and changed his clothes. That's when he's going to the palace from the prison. And what the Spirit of God said to me in that moment was, you are that person who is helping excellent-minded people prepare themselves for the palace. And that's where Light in the Marketplace was birthed. So what we do as a business is we help literally excellent-minded people who have a calling. It can be in different ways, and we help to literally prepare them, their outward appearance, for whatever the calling is, and start to get them ready for that. But the reason why I bring that story up is because fast forward 2025, very recently, God allowed something into my life that completely shook me. And thankfully, because I have been learning that everything works for the good, for those who are called, who love God and are called according to his purpose. So, I knew that what happened could not naturally happen to a child of God. So that led me down a path to find out why. As children of God, we have to understand our rights, You can't just wake up in the morning and say somebody has cancer, you just collect it. From where? It's not part of the agenda, it's not part of the promise. So you can't just collect that. You have to ask what's going on. And in God answering that question, he led me to see how between 2020, when we had that conversation, and now, a lot of things had gone left. A lot of little idols had come in. And there needed to be a lot of cleansing and change. Not just in the business, but in my own lifestyle. And most importantly, it had to be in one core truth, which is that God is sovereign. And he's sovereign in everything. And if you don't accept that God is sovereign, how do I put it? Okay, let me track back a little bit. So, in the Bible, just like Jeff, I hardly remember names, I got that one. Just like Jeff rightly